What's up? What's up? Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you're watching this. We're just going to jump right into the conversation. As you come into the room, don't be afraid to say hello. We Southern hospitality around here, so make sure that we speaking to each other and playing nice and all that stuff. So, gonna jump right into it, and hopefully y'all can hear me over my puppy. He's going crazy right now. I think he doesn't like this weather, so that's got him in his feelings. Anyway, so the title of the video says, "Who are you really?" And if you've been paying attention to the page over the last few days, I've really been talking a lot about leadership identity. And the people that I normally work with, which is Black women leaders for the most part, I work with a little bit of everybody, but most of the people who are attracted to me are Black women leaders, whether they are in the military, whether they are authors, whether they are consultants themselves, even some executives in the corporate space and things like that. And what we don't realize is that knowing who we are is a big part of the way that we lead. Knowing who we are, good morning, bro. Knowing who we are is a big part of the way that we lead. And so if you don't know who you are, or you're being forced to give up your personal identity, then that shows up in your leadership. What I see a lot of times, like how many of y'all ever remember y'all remember your first interview, and then you remember your second interview? I remember being young and going into a first interview situation, and sometimes, like I remember this one particular job. I want to say I was applying for the county sheriff's office or something, but I went in there being myself. You know what I mean? And then you found out after you don't get the job, they don't really want you to be yourself. They want you to fit into their little cultural mold. And we see this a lot of times in corporate culture, a lot of different offices, even government positions, whatever it is. It's like the culture is already here and you need to fit in with us. And that's not necessarily the most effective way to keep your leadership team, to fill that leadership pipeline. Like, that's not effective. Now, if you want a bunch of clones that all look like each other and say the same thing, that's what that is, okay? But if you really want leaders who shift and make impact and make real change, you have to allow them to bring their full selves to the table. But too many times, especially like I said, I'm talking to Black women today because that's what I see. And too many of us have so many different identities. We're so many different things to other people, and we really don't know who we are for real. If that's you, just say me in the comments. It's all right. We're not judging nothing, just acknowledging accountability. I just came out of my accountability group this morning, so I'm on this accountability tip. So we holding each other accountable today. But yeah, if you don't know who you are and you're not bringing your full self because you're playing all of these different roles, then how are you showing up as a leader? Like, how are you showing up as a leader in your home? How are you showing up as a leader in the community? How are you showing up as a leader in your church? How are you showing up as a leader on the workforce? How are you showing up as a leader in your position? Right. And so, what I do see a lot is that that tends to be the culture. It's like, this is us. We sitting like this, and if you don't fit in with us, you can't sit with us. And that's a huge gap in between where a lot of companies are and where they want to be, and why they have a problem building a consistent leadership pipeline, why people are leaving or disengaging because they're not allowed to bring their full selves. And to be honest, if you have to put on one persona and then leave it at the door when you go home, like, you're absolutely not thinking about what you left at the door when you went home. You're going home and being somebody else, and that's what you're paying your attention to. Whereas if you are your full self at all times and bringing every part of you, then that affects everything you touch. But you have to know who you are, and you have to be comfortable with that. And this is the other thing, you have to be comfortable with people not accepting you. It's okay to not be accepted. It's okay to not be liked. And I think too many times we grow up wanting to be liked, wanting to grow up to be accepted by everybody, and it just doesn't work like that. And we know it don't work like that at work, right? And so what I see in the leadership space is People have their lived experience, they have their stories, they have their personalities, they have their own identities, but they're not bringing them to the office with them because they feel like y'all don't want it there. They feel like it doesn't fit. But when you realize that a person bringing their entire self to the situation, when you're allowed to bring your full self to the situation, your culture, your lived experiences, your story, your true identity, you can really make change. You can really make impact. You can shift the culture of where you are if you allow yourself to do it. And if these companies allow you to do it, if they would really understand what it takes to build and develop these emerging leaders. It's not about creating clones. It's not about putting everybody in the mold. It's about recognizing your unique talents, your unique abilities, what makes you you, right? But again, we're always asked to hide those parts of ourselves. We want to leave the human side of us. Everything is just straight all business. These people don't need to know me like that. I've been at work and had those same conversations. You know how it is when you find somebody that you click with and y'all are kind of similar and you got that secret, you got that secret together. Like we really like this outside of work, but we know how we got to play it in here. And it shouldn't be that way, especially as a leader, because so much value is missed when you're not bringing yourself, your personal values. You know what I'm saying? Like that affects. And that's why one of the parts of my leadership framework is about aligning your growth with, or aligning your goals and personal growth. Because when you encourage your leaders to go after what is strong for them and their personal goals align with your goals, it's gravy. It's gravy. Alignment is not about everybody doing the same thing the same way. It's about having the same shared mission and the same shared goal. And guess what? There's more than one way to get there. It's no one way. But if you allow your leaders, and leaders, I'm talking to you, if you allow yourself to step into that space and to step into who you fully and truly are, you can really make that change you want to see. I was watching an interview last night. I watch reality TV and stuff like that for y'all that don't know. I tell people all the time, I have to supplement all the brainy shit that I do with trash. It got to be a little balance. Can't be all this all the time. So I got to, it's some little low vibrational stuff in there, balance, whatever. But there's this reality show producer, and he sat down with is she a doctor? I don't know. Iyanla Vanzant, and love her down. And she got to talking about when she started really stepping into who she was and the impact that, and y'all know, baby, you say Iyanla name and people start talking about DMX and the Braxtons and Fix My Life and all of that stuff. That's if you watch reality TV. But if you're not familiar, like she is a no-nonsense, truth-telling Black woman who will get in your face and allow you to face your demons. And then she's not going to tell you need to fight them. She's going to let you make the choice. She's going to give you all the tools and then let you make the decision. So anyway, she's written so many books. She's done shows on OWN. She's made such a grand impact. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because I want you to know how much of a cultural impact she makes. But when she was stepping out into being herself and doing what she was doing, the people around her, her team, they asked her to identify herself. And I wrote some notes because I don't want to forget it. But they asked her, are you a teacher who writes, or are you a writer who teaches? Are you a teacher who writes, or are you a writer who teaches? Now, some of you, if you don't really drill into that, it sounds the same, but it's not. When you dig into the heart of that thing, it's not the same. There's a very big difference. And so she had to make a determination. And she said she realized that she was a teacher who writes. She doesn't consider herself a writer, even though she has a million books out there. She doesn't consider herself a writer, right? And so that's an important thing, because if you know your identity, if you know who you are, then you know what kind of impact that you can make. You know how to walk in that. So leaders, again, I ask you, do you know who you really are? Because once you know who you are, that shapes everything that you do. Your actions are informed by your beliefs. So who do you believe yourself to be? Who do you know yourself to be? I tell people all the time, you can say anything you want out your mouth or whatever, but your actions is what tells people who you really are. That's why we're seeing all the mess that we're seeing on social media now where everybody's talking about the church folks, because there is a disconnect between who these people say they are and the actions that we see. Let's be real. That's what the argument is about. That disconnect, that gap, that happens everywhere. In leadership culture, on the job, in the house, wherever. If you're not standing firm in your identity and who you know yourself to be, it comes out no matter what your mouth say. You could say, I'm a leader all day long. But if people can see that insecurity in you, they're not listening to you. If you can't make decisions, if you're wasting a lot of time second guessing and you got to have other people double check behind you, that's not leadership behavior. That's insecurity. You don't need to check in with the peanut gallery all the time to make a decision if you're a leader. So again, who are you? Do you know who you are? I see it a lot where people are put into leadership roles just because they're good at the technical skills. Yeah, just because you're good at being technical and you know this job and this role and the ins and outs really well and how this department functions doesn't mean that you're capable to lead the department. You just know a lot about it. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have that support and you don't have what needs to happen to fill those gaps, yeah, knowledge alone does not a leader make. Skills alone does not a leader make. You know what I mean? So it's shifting into that real leadership identity and knowing who you are and how you can create change, how you can make that impact. But you have to make a decision and then you have to believe it and then let your actions reflect that. Otherwise, I don't believe nothing you're saying, period. But again, going back to the earlier part of the conversation, I think that's why we have the disconnect that we have in corporate, because so many people, they've decided who they are, but they've decided to leave that person outside the office, outside the door. They leave her in the car. Once they pull up and they listening to their UGK and turn the radio off, we corporate Sally now. We're going to button up the jacket, put on the glasses, and we're somebody totally different. You think people can't see through that? You think people don't realize that? And it's not that you're being fake, but you've gotten used to putting on all these different personas that you feel like is normal. And when we normalize things and somebody points out the flaw in it, we're mad at them. Just because you're operating and used to operating in dysfunction doesn't make your dysfunction normal, period. We've all heard them stories growing up and how folks do stuff different in their house. And you'd be like, glad I didn't grow up there. They thought that was normal. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's the same thing with all of that. Like, your normal isn't this person's normal, and whatever the case is. Again, make a choice for you. Make a choice for you. Who are you for real? Who are you really? And are you prepared to walk in that? Are you prepared to bring all of that to your leadership journey? Whether you're an author writing a book, are you prepared to tell the full story? Are you prepared to really change lives with it? If you're leading in corporate, are you prepared to bring all of your experiences to that position? Are you truly prepared? If you're in, a consultant or whatever, are you prepared to share even the ugly parts with your audience so that they can relate to you and say, yes, I want to work with her. She gets it. That's what I was talking about this morning on the accountability call with one of my friends. And we were talking about some actions that I wasn't taking, but it was because of how I view things, how I view myself, and how I feel like other people view the situation. And I was like, well, sis, I judge, or I feel like people will judge me according to the way that I judge. And I feel like we attract who we are. You know what I mean? And I've had that experience. Like, there are a lot of coaches that I worked with because they reminded me a lot of me, or they had a similar story and stuff like that. And so that's valuable. That helps people see themselves in your story and what you have to share. And especially if they saw you get on the other side of it, then they're like, oh yes, they're the perfect person to help. You know, we were talking this morning about a famous, I say famous, whatever, about an Instagrammer who has like several businesses in Africa now, but we remember where she started, you know, when she was going through a divorce, when she had young children, when she had to move back to her mom's house, you know, and she wasn't afraid to teach the classes. She wasn't afraid to give you her knowledge. She wasn't afraid to record the content, even with the babies crawling everywhere. And sometimes that's her lived experience. That's all of her. And she brought it to y'all every time. But some of us want to leave those parts out because they don't look pretty. They're not aesthetically pleasing. People won't like that. It's not perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for realness. We're looking for authenticity. We're looking for commonality. How can we engage with each other because you understand? And in the corporate space, that is even more important because when you're working on a team, when you're working together toward a common goal, like the understanding has to be there. Has to be there. You don't know how many times things fall through the cracks just because of miscommunication. And when you have unaligned leadership, because there's this leadership identity crisis, that's what you get. Drop balls, lost communication, missed deadlines. That's what it is. That's what you end up with. So you have to be prepared to bring your full self. And guess what? If they don't like it, maybe that's not the environment for you. You know, and this could be a whole nother live, and I'm not even trying to go here. But what I learned is that sometimes we accept things because we like the idea of being chosen. We like the idea of being chosen. Or if we were never the chosen one, chosen feels good. And you try to stay in it as long as you can. That's why people stay in crazy relationships that don't work. Because I'm the chosen one. That's why you got side chicks, because they feel like they're the chosen one. I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be talking business, but these are my relatable experiences. I'm sorry. So if this ain't your thing, I'm not the coach for you. I'm not the consultant for you. I'm not the corporate trainer or speaker for you. And you know what? That's okay. I'm okay with it. I know my identity and I can stand firm on that. So I know who I'm for and who I'm not for. And everybody should be that confident. Everybody should be that sure. And I will admit, I was not always that sure. It was always, well, if I do this way, then these people like me and they'll hire me. And then if I do this way, and then before you know it, you are not being yourself. You're not offering your true value. You are not offering what you can all the way bring to the table because you're not bringing all of you. You're hiding it. You won't let people peek into it. They can't see it. So where are you supposed to get trust from? How's your team supposed to trust you? How are your superiors supposed to trust you? Know your leadership identity, know who you are, and don't be afraid to walk in it. That was another thing I wanted to pull up that Iyanla said in the interview that I watched last night. And she talked about being a leader versus a boss. Because I think he asked her, what does she think about the term boss chicks or boss women or something like that? And I had my own thoughts about it. Leadership and being a boss, two different things. I'm sorry, but when I hear boss, I think jail. When I hear boss, I think plantation. When I hear boss, I'm not thinking somebody who loves me, who is looking out for me, who cares about my well-being, who's going to check on me, who's going, because that's what leadership is. It's not about just getting a thing done. Do you care about your people? That's not boss, because bosses don't care. I'm sorry, but every movie that I've watched that had the word boss in it like that, that's what it means to me. Y'all seen Life with Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy? What they call the warden, boss. Yes, the boss. Hey, boss. I'm not a boss. I'm a leader. So that's another leadership identity thing. Are you a boss or are you a leader? Because those are two different identities. They're not the same. Okay? I'm gonna say that with that. Is there anything else? No, I think that's all I want to say. I told you I'll be having my little notes and stuff because I don't want to forget anything. And I know I can go off on tangents. I talk. And then once I get into a story, I'll get into the meat of the story that I forgot the original point that the story was supposed to connect. So I'm glad I stayed on track today. I'm glad y'all are here. If you found this helpful, please share this with somebody. And if you think that this could be helpful in your organization, tell them to hit me up, shoot them my email address, slide in my DMs. I got you. Y'all have an amazing day. Thank y'all for being here, and I'll see y'all next time.